1 minute over. In fact, we're wasting your time, which is my favorite part of doing this. So, hello everybody, and welcome to Why Gen 5 Isn't Pokemon, or Gen 1, a critique of the creatures introduced in the 5th generation Pokemon games. I'm Max.
And I'm Clayton.
And together we are the foundation for the eradication of Gen 5 Pokemon because, I mean, have you seen them? Gotta get rid of them.
They're pretty bad.
They suck.
So before we get too far into this panel, especially since we know that a lot of you are new, haven't seen this presentation before, we're going to go ahead and start with a bit of a quiz. You know, a little bit of standardized testing so we can determine your level of background knowledge before we start, you know, spitting facts at you. And it's really quite simple. If you think that the image we show you is a Pokemon, go ahead and raise your hand. Just one hand. Don't raise your foot. Please don't pitch its hand. That's not, you know.
It's 12:30. Come on.
You know, wait until the 18+ content for that. But otherwise, you know, if it's not a Pokemon, just keep your hand down.
I mean, if it's 18+, we could just say hand check it.
That's true. That's true. All right. Anyway, first off, is this a Pokemon?
No. Raise your hands.
All right, we have a couple of stragglers who aren't raising their hands for some reason, but for the most part, everyone is correct. This is, of course, Machamp, the OG third stage fighting type Pokemon, evolves via trading, cool mechanic, and just all around a solid Pokemon. Next up, is this a Pokemon? Max, I think we have our work cut out for us. That's a lot of hands up that really shouldn't be up. Unfortunately, you are incorrect. This is, of course, I can't actually speak its name because this is an MS-13, not MS-13. If this was an MS-13 panel, we'd be on a one-way plane to El Salvador right now.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We probably will anyway, given the content of some of my panels coming forward.
We can't speak this thing's name, so I'm going to just call it Girder Thing from now on, but it is from Gen 5, so it is clearly not a Pokemon. Next up, is this a Pokemon? Yeah, okay. Not quite as many hands up, which is...
I mean, so none of you glitched out, which was good, and so far I'm upset you kind of put this on my computer. I don't feel okay about that.
What are you talking about? This is a classic Pokemon. This is, of course, missing... Wait, what? What's going on? Look, they told me if I installed the software, they would give me 128 copies of the 6th file on my hard drive.
What is the 6th file on your hard drive?
No comment.
Well, I guess while we wait for my computer to restart, we might as well ask, is this a Pokemon? Fools.
No hands.
No hands.
Usually we have at least one person who's right. This is, of course, Shrimp Stompora, a leaked Generation 10 Pokemon. We definitely haven't been saying this every year we've given this panel and simply shifting the goalposts when we turn out to be wrong, because, you know, that would mean we're hacks or something, and I don't think that's a good experience.
No, our Uncle Nintendo's just been wrong a couple times, but he'll be there. He'll be there.
Okay.
Next, are these Pokemon? Okay, Mr. Neglectful Father, what is this? The lack of confidence you had. No, so these are Rotom forms. And I know you're saying Rotom's a 4th gen Pokemon. Yeah, Rotom is, but like Rotom washing machine, that is so 5th gen coded.
It's been an OU so long. I see it every day on, you know, Pokemon online battles. It's just bad. Anyway. Lastly, is this a Pokemon?
I want it to be.
I am proud of each and every person who raised their hands right now. Unfortunately, I cannot give it to you because this is Embor from Generation 5, who is, of course, not a Pokemon as a result of being from Gen 5.
So I want you to real quick sit there and like tally up your score on this test. So if
They did pretty bad.
they
honestly.
did. So I'm just going to say right now, none of you did a great job. So this is what someone who would do well on the test looks like. Unlike all of you who did very poorly. So this is more your speed. Or if you still want some Keanu Reeves energy, you could do that, I guess. But looking into Gen 5, it's dangerous. We have to do our research.
Yeah, and like any good scientist, we need to be transparent with our methodology, explain what materials and methods we use, and more importantly, follow safety protocols very, very strictly. We don't want OSHA after us, especially not after, OMD is done turning OSHA into something else.
I'm so deeply upset. I brought a helmet and goggles and gloves for this and left them in the hotel room.
That's okay. I forgot my safety equipment too, so we're just gonna have to, raw dog it.
That's okay. No one's going to stop us now.
So let's go over the fire diamond for the hazardous material that is Generation 5 creatures, as established by OSHA. So here on the fire diamond, there's 4 quadrants for different dangerous properties of a material. Starting off with the top, we have Generation 5 is of course a 5 out of 4 for its extreme flammability. All sorts of flame wars start over this stuff. It's also a 5 out of 4 in terms of how toxic it is, for similar reasons. In terms of how explosive Generation 5 is, we interpreted this to mean how many new variations of the move explosion were introduced. Sadly, this number is 0, and it should be as high as possible, because explosions are cool, right? Like, come on. And then we have the bottom quadrant, which is, of course, for any other special material properties it might have, whether it has any unusual reactivity with water, whether it's a strong oxidizer, whether it's likely to start the next crusade for Constantinople. Like, we gotta know these things so that we can be ready for when the worst happens, right?
I mean, and with something so dangerous, you think we should just not research it, right? But here's the thing. We have beef. So, but if you're enjoying Gen 5, that's fine. You can do that.
No, it's not.
It's not. I mean, again, this is what you look like. Like, if we wanted to safely research this, we could just eat paste. The thing is, I'm Team Valor, so that wasn't an option. Option 2 is you could just remove your nostalgia goggles and accept that, new Pokemon might be different from old Pokemon, and that things change over time. But we got ours surgically implanted.
Yeah, it's great. I now see the entire world exclusively as a series of 64-bit polygons, and it is fucking great.
Oh, I got the 32-bit pixel art.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good.
That's a good variation.
Yeah, hell yeah, really. Don't leave me hanging, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Option 3, if you're looking into it on something like Bulbapedia, you could use a word replacer. That way, instead of saying Pokemon, it says something else. So here we have Trubbish, the Abomination.
We've also got Kling Clang, the Dumpster Fire, from Bulbapedia, the community-driven dumpster fire encyclopedia.
And next, and this one is very inappropriate. So I'm going to ask, if any of you are sensitive to suggestive images, cover your eyes. This is Keldeo the Brony. Hand check real quick. If you have failed the hand check, I'm sorry, we're going to have to ask you to leave. There are people outside this room in suits who are going to ask you for your name, address, internet browsing history, and let's be honest, they're plainclothes ICE officers. That's how it's going now.
Yeah.
So with that, I guess we should talk about Pokemon games instead of
I guess we should
aggressively
actually talk
shitposting.
about that, yeah.
Okay, so combat. We're going to go over what each generation has added to the Pokemon franchise. And the first thing we have to talk about is, of course, Gen 1, which invented the idea of combat. Before Pokemon Red and Blue came out, people agreed on everything. Clayton would be like, hey, Max, want to go get hot dogs? And I'd be like, hell yeah. I don't even eat pork or beef, but I'm going to do it because he suggested it. And suddenly we realized we could fight over stuff. Wham, bam, thank you, man. US is invading Iraq for oil. It's great.
Yep.
And this red-blue dichotomy, it bleeds into everything going forward. I mean, you all remember the timeless WWE 2K18. Great match. And Game Freak, they could have just declared mission accomplished and rode off in the sunset, creating a near-perfect combat mechanic. But
I didn't. And I, for one, am glad they didn't, because Generation 2 is the StarCraft Brood War to Generation 1 StarCraft Vanilla. They took something that was already excellent, and through the iterative addition of new units and new mechanics, they created something that was truly perfect. Generation 2 introduced mechanics ranging from weather, entry hazards, leftovers, I guess I should say held items in general, but let's be honest, in Gen 2, you were pretty much always using leftovers for your held items.
Is that how you store your leftovers, man?
Hey man, Tupperware is expensive sometimes.
I mean, yeah, I have Pyrex.
Right?
Stains too.
That's why you use Pyrex.
Disposable.
I can't believe
fill the landfill.
No,
That's
what I'm
great.
shocked by is someone has outed themselves as actually using a plastic bag to store pasta. No one ever does that. There's a
No
level,
shame. No shame.
There's a level of shame. Like, we are at an anime convention and we have found a new level of shame. Would you like a prize?
Yes.
Okay, come on up. You're getting a badge ribbon. You are not getting a donut. I'm not allowed to get people food. Also, it's mine.
Generation 2 also split the special stats so that you had special defense and special attack rather than one unified stat that determined both the efficacy and resistance to these moves, which worked out great for some Pokemon, but not so well for others. My boy Gyarados didn't have a good stab move until Gen 4. It was tragic.
It also introduced 2 new types in Dark and Steel.
Psychic was busted. They had to round that out.
Yeah. Gen 3 was pretty great in that they decided that they were going to take the criticism that Pokemon is a game for children to heart and transition it from a game for children to a game for children with obsessive compulsive disorder. Suddenly we started getting natures, abilities, EVs and IVs. It wasn't enough that you had a cool Raticate. You had to breed like 800 Raticate to get the perfect setup and then EV train it for like 10 hours.
I have so many dumpsters full of my reject Pokemon babies. Pokemon is secretly a eugenics simulator.
Yeah. This is a secret.
And it also sucks when you put in all that work, get that perfect Sceptile with Leaf Blade and a Modest Nature, only for Gen 4 to roll around, split the special stat again, and make that Sceptile garbage. So you have to go back into the dumpster and dig out one of your rejects. This was actually kind of a good thing, though, because starting in Generation 4, attacks were no longer categorized as special or physical based on their type, but rather based on the individual attack themselves. So, for example, instead of all Ghost-type attacks being physical for some reason, Lick was a physical attack, but Shadow Ball, you know, that attack where you magically conjure up inky black energy and throw it like a wizard, that is now properly special, so my boy Gengar has something he can do with that monstrous special stat. Generation 4 also introduced Stealth Rock, as in literally Stealth Rock. I could go on for hours about how this one attack has overly centralized the metagame, but I'll keep it brief. It single-handedly dictates which types are viable and which ones aren't, and this became such a problem that later down the road they introduced a new item, heavy-duty boots, whose whole purpose is basically just to nullify Stealth Rock.
Then we have Gen 5 and all of its contributions to Pokemon combat mechanics.
Did you forget to put something? Oh, no.
Wait. Where's
That's right, yeah. We're just skipping to Gen 6.
I had an empty... This isn't fair.
What about Landorus T?
What about Landorus T?
Wait. So I want to be clear. You're going to argue that the introduction of Landorus T is a core mechanic change to how Pokemon is played.
Actually, given how common he is, probably.
So,
yeah, like you need Ice Beam just for that thing. It's awful.
The entire generation, even like Gen 6 and 7 became around this.
Yeah, we didn't talk about like Alakazam or Gengar or Charizard or anything else that does that. Every generation has a strong Pokemon. That doesn't matter.
I love going on Pokemon Showdown though and one-shotting Landorus T with my Sheer Force Nidoking. It makes people rage. It's great. Also, moving on to Generation 6, the generation that allows you to warp Digivolve to your Mega Form. And also just let you pick the Gen 1 starters again. So honestly, it's a perfect game, and there are no changes needed.
With Gen 7 out, Pikachu and Jigglypuff decided they were going to smuggle something in from Smash, and we got some Smash Balls, aka Z moves. It's pretty cool. You know, some interpretive dance, some attacks that are way too strong. It was fun.
Yeah, I think Snorlax had a cool animation with his. In Generation 8, they introduced Big as a mechanic. As in, literally just your Pokemon gets huge because Game Freak was too lazy to code new Mega Evolutions, basically.
In Gen 9, Pokemon got hats. I'm going to be honest, of all these gimmick mechanics, hats are my favorite.
Hats are up there. Like, I really like the strategy introduces being able to change types.
Yeah,
I still like Mega Forms better, but
I don't know. I just want to roll out like a Psychic type Pikachu because it's funny. I don't know, man.
without having to do a low one, right?
Yeah. No, that's lame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate Gen 7, as you can tell.
All right. So moving on to some more crunchy criticisms we've got, we're going to start talking about power creep, right? Power creep is, of course, the phenomenon. You may be familiar with it if you play Magic the Gathering or other collectible card games, where every generation of new cards that's released after the first is just a little bit better than the previous one because, they want to give you an incentive to keep collecting stuff, because if you stop, eventually your cards aren't going to be viable anymore.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a version of that in Generation 5, except instead of,
Look, it's Thunderous Tea.
This leads to situations where newly introduced creatures in Generation 5 are strictly better than a lot of Pokemon that were introduced previously, sometimes egregiously so, like in the case of Machamp and Girderthing here. They're both third stage pure fighting types that evolve via trading, except Girderthing's stats are strictly better than Machamp's where they matter and worse where they don't, right? They're both slow, bulky physical attackers, except Girderthing has a higher physical attack and a higher defensive stat, so it can hit harder and take more hits. Machamp is slightly faster, but it's still as slow as a golf cart with 3 flat tires, so popping that 4th tire, really not making much of a difference here on the margin. And I guess Machamp has a better special attack stat, which makes it better for running a Choice Specs Fire Blast Vacuum Wave build, which if you run that on Machamp, we should hang out because you're a cool person, but you should also be aware that it's objectively a bad set to run on Machamp. You also have cases that aren't, quite as, obvious, reskins as this, but they're just really, really strong, right? For example, the stupid Moth. It's got Legendary Bird tier special attack. It has Charizard tier speed. It has strong special defense. It has a unique fire type move that is literally just a better version of Power Up Punch. A dynamic that has never been replicated with any fire types that were introduced in subsequent generations, not even once, and certainly not in a starter Pokemon.
Next we have what I can only assume is Sandslash's edgy persona, which is weird because for most 8-year-olds, Sandslash is already their edgy persona. And my issues with this are a few things. One, its attack stat is 135, and I think anything I could run over with my car should not be as strong as Dragonite. And point 2, its speed stat is 88, which is the Nazi number, so if anything, we should be canceling this thing.
We've also got Darmanitan Bobana, I think is what it's called. I don't even know. Despite having a relatively low base stat total of around 400-ish, pretty low, it has probably the largest delta between its attack and special attack of any creature I've seen, except maybe Mega Beedrill. And that was a deliberate attempt to take something that was unusable and min-max it into being almost decent, right? So starting out that min-max is not great. You also have an issue in Generation 5 where over time in Pokemon, the Dragon type became a larger and larger fraction of the Smogon OU tier. Starting out, there weren't very many Dragon types, and in Generation 3 and 4, it was a fairly manageable percentage. But once you hit Generation 5, it's like 1 in 6 OU Pokemon are Dragon type, which is definitely more than the share of Pokemon that are Dragon type. So there was enough of a problem that Game Freak felt the need to introduce Mike Pence's least favorite Pokemon type, the Fairy type. which of course led to a sharp decline in the number of dragons in the OU metagame. So it completely fixed the problem. It's back down to Generation 3 and 4 levels, and we never have to talk about this again. Right, Max? What? What's wrong? Oh, are you talking about that point at the end of the graph there? Oh, see, sorry, this is an older version of the graph. This is the one I made before I realized that a lot of the creatures introduced in Gen 9 were just reskinned Gen 2 Pokemon, such as Giraffariku, Triceratops Entei, and Suicune on acid over here. So, you know, once you factor that in and fix the graph, I'm actually right, you know? So, yeah, you know, it works out.
Love being right.
Yeah, being right is great. We also have speed creep as a problem that is very apparent in Generation 5. So just a quick lowdown. The way the speed stat works in Pokemon, if you are faster than your opponent's Pokemon by even 1 point, you go first 100% of the time unless you have a special attack like Quick Attack or some other factor that changes the move priority order. So putting a small amount of investment into the speed stat is an extremely efficient way to make Pokemon more competitive, right? And as you can see from this graph, all these Pokemon, or all these creatures on the list with a 101 in speed are from Gen 5, compared to, you know, the ones with 100 from earlier generations. Because as we all know, this was never something that happened in Generation 1 before. Not even once.
So, I mean, mechanically they're bad, but aesthetically are they also? Yeah, they're also bad.
Oh god, they're hideous. Yeah. Starting off, let's just take a apples to apples comparison between two paired fighting types. We've got Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan from Generation 1, and I think it's like Red Thing and Blue Thing from the Rock'em Sock'em Robots cinematic universe.
I think that's just two gentlemen with skin conditions.
Yeah, they make things for psoriasis. They should check that out. But anyway, grossly uninspired designs, not very much unlike Hitmonchan, of course, named for the famed Japanese martial artist Jackie Chan. Seen here exploring the world, hunting down the ancient talismans, thwarting the forces of darkness, all while having time to give good moral lessons to the children.
Also trying to save his cabbages.
Also, that's kind of important. You've also got Hitmonlee, named for Bruce Lee, shown here kicking the shit out of the 2006 era internet.
I'd say I miss those times, but God, I hate that man.
But he's getting the shit kicked out of him.
So, yeah, this feels good.
Yeah. This is in contrast with Sock, aka that thing you peel off your foot after you're done at the gym, and Fro, which, we still get laughs for this slide. I'm proud of it.
His favorite part is it glitched when he screen grabbed it, so missing nose in the middle.
Also, Lonely Island is timeless.
It is. I mean, I just love that Missing No got in here, and we didn't put that there.
Nintendo didn't put Missing No in on purpose either.
So next we, of course, have to complain. It's the lowest hanging fruit of colors. It's Toru. I'm upset about Toru. So let's talk about that fire starter of Gen 5.
You asked for the sumo wrestler Pokemon, so I put it in.
That's Hariyama, that's Gen 3.
Oh, right, that's the actual Pokemon, not the sumo wrestler Gen 5.
No, I wanted the firefighter starter.
Oh, okay, the firefighter starter, this one. Are you saying there's more than one? Oh, the one that's a mammal. There's more than one mammal? It's the 6th file on my hard drive. It's supposed to be for later tonight. And I think we're going to post on the OnlyFans page. You should keep your eyes covered.
Is it right?
No, it's not safe.
Oh, no!
It's not safe, but it's the right image.
Okay, so why are you doing 3 firefighting starters in a row? Why are you doing another sumo wrestling Pokemon? And why are you just OC do not stealing one of the greatest characters in American animation?
Awesome, that's fair.
Yeah, it's fair. And here's the thing. They love doing this. Not only are they going to rip off of great shows, they're going to rip off of themselves. Here we have Tentacruel and Tentacruel with an inflation kink. Golbat and Golbat after he was told he's a very good boy. And Which one's Clefable?
Here, hang on. Oh shoot, sorry.
Oh no.
So I did a quick scan. They are actually identical JPEG images, so I screwed that up. Sorry.
And then we have this shit. Okay. So we have first of all, why are you giving garbage bag pigtails? It does not need to be cute. It is literally trash. Next, it is so upsetting. Like, look at that mouth. I am so disturbed that looking at it makes me want to take up smoking so I can put a cigarette out on it. The problem is judging by its hand, it absorbs those cigarettes and becomes more powerful. Next, its other arm is clearly a gas nozzle. So this has been sponsored by the oil industry. Next, we have a series of gears. And I'm very upset about this series of gears. First off, we have, the gear without the eye. If you spin that, and it spins the next teal gear, which is because, the teeth fit. And then it's presumably attached in the middle to the big gear. So that'll spin the big gear with the teal gear. The problem falls when you get down to that peach gear, because it has no way to attach to the other gears. Meaning it's just spinning for no reason. So how is the motion being transferred to the peach gear and then the other gear around it? Have they taken basic physics?
It looks cool though.
No, it doesn't! It's some gears! Next, we have the ice cream cone. And first off, I think we can all agree, in retrospect, the N64 controller is kind of a bad design.
Don't say.
I'm going to say that I had a friend pick it up for the first time. She had no clue what to do. Why are you basing a design off the N64 controller? Next, it clearly demonstrates they don't know how ice cream works. You don't just hold up a cone, put a piece of ice cream in it, hold it sideways, hope gravity stops working for a while, so you can put the second piece on and go, ice cream. And next, it's vaping. Which, that's bad. Don't do that. You'll get kicked out of the con. Those of you who were there at like 5 p.m. remember that. And finally, the last thing clearly had to have been conceived of in Oklahoma, because in any other state, they would have been allowed to stop designing that thing.
In related news, I just heard from my uncle who works at Nintendo that
The same one that told me Shrimp Stumpboard is coming?
Yeah, sure. Due to some changes at the Department of Health and Human Services, Nintendo is going to be required to change the egg emergency minigame in the Switch 2 version of Pokemon Stadium 2 to this. It's,
Somehow that is the best reaction we've gotten to this. And for some reason, the coat hangers go over most people's head.
I'm really not looking forward to this. Really not looking forward to it. Catch it. But of course, let's take a moment to go away from this, the awful aesthetic design of Gen 5 and check out Generation 1 Pokemon. These gorgeous, illustrious, these should be in the Louvre. This is art. Now I know what some of you may be thinking. Clayton, you've literally picked the worst examples of Gen 1 Pokemon to defend. To which I have to say, A, you have bad taste. B, if I can defend the worst examples, I can defend everything. Starting with, of course, Electrode, which people like to trash for just looking like a Pokeball and therefore being a lazy design. But when you're walking around the overworld in the Pokemon game and you see an item on the ground, what does it look like? A Pokeball. You go over, you pick it up. Some fraction of the time, it's a rare candy that you can ask my boy Missing No to do for you. Other times, it blows up in your face and you have an explosive encounter. It's paying homage to the concept of a mimic from myriad other fantasy settings like Dungeons and Dragons and
Freerin.
And Freerin, yes. Next up, we've got Mr. Mime, the Bad Touch Pokemon.
No. Those are still allegations. It hasn't gone through court. We can't talk about this.
Right.
We will get sued.
Sorry, allegedly. And lastly, we've got my boy Muck here, who people like to trash for being just a sludge monster. What's so interesting about a sludge monster? To which I have to say, have you never seen a film in your life? Let's see, we've got the Blob, we've got the creature from the Black Lagoon, we've got Hedorah from the Godzilla franchise. We've got, oozes from Warcraft and Dungeons and Dragons.
We've
and
got
other
your
fantasy
mom.
settings. We've got your mom, right? Like, sludge monsters are super common in fiction, it turns out. And Generation 1, given that it was setting the standards for what the different types of Pokemon would represent, I don't know, I think a sludge monster makes sense for the pure poison type. And also, my boy Muck is adorable, so don't even trash him.
Because they have pigtails.
Also,
Yeah, because they're not trying to make Muck fuckable. Why do they keep trying to make Pokemon fuckable? It's weird.
also teach it Shadow Sneak, and it will fuck up Gengars.
If you want to fan art them up with pigtails, by all means. You get the opportunity to be imaginative here. They've decided what you can do with Garbodor. Anyway, time to talk about rivals. Gary, Indiana, my rivals. I'm kidding. So first we have Gary. He's kind of a little shit, but you get back to him by taking out his Raticate. He's involved in the story in some way. Sure, he doesn't help you in Self-Co. I think it would have been cool, in the remake we got double battles, but whatever. And he learns that, maybe you shouldn't be such a good shit. And then by the time the second game comes around and Gold Silver, he's taken over as the gym leader in Viridian City, presumably because Red is too busy having a manic depressive episode in Silver Mountain. Speaking of Silver, we also have Silver from Gold Silver. He's an asshole. He hates his Pokemon, sees them as implements of war. Kind of reminds me of this guy. And, of course, as we all know, leader of Pokepeda. He's a character you all know and love, and by love, I mean lust for, which is fine. He's 20 and is legal. That being said, your protagonist is 10. And N takes you on a romantic ride on the Seattle Big Wheel, and I'm not okay with that, and neither should you be. Anyway, speaking of N, we might as well just talk about bad guys. And the first bad guy we have is, of course, Team Rocket. Or Team Rocket grunts on this phone. Get it together, man. Anyway, yeah, Team Rocket.
He's talking to the boss. Let him. He's taking a work.
Dude, Giovanni's going to take us out, man. So they're great. They run a successful casino. They've taken over Self-Co. Basically, they're the closest thing Kanto has to a government. And then we have, they come back a second time. They take over a media company. Normal criminal organization shit. And then we have Ruby Sapphire, which introduces Team Magma and Team Aqua. They're just eco-terrorists, and it's fine. I'm fine. It's not like Doomsday level. They have a thing they want to do, and I think we can all agree that Team Aqua's thing is wrong because this is what Hoenn looks like.
They somehow think Hoenn doesn't have enough water.
Do we need water for life? Yes. Do we also need land for life?
Got to put the solar panels somewhere.
Yeah, it's true. It just falls apart after that, though, because we go from people who just want to do some, heavy geoengineering to literal doomsday cults. It's Team Galactic. They're based off the guys who did the sarin gas bombing in the Tokyo subway. That's a weird thing to decide to make a bad guy based off of. And you'd hope that, Nintendo learned a lesson. This is another instance of Diamond Pearl messing something up and Black-White making it worse. Because Gen 5 introduced us to the worst villainous team. That is, of course, the Dark Hand. They're out seeking the gym badge. They will steal your gym badges because they want to appease Shendu and...
Max, I think this is the villainous team from Jackie Chan Adventure.
I'm going to blame you for messing this slide up, and not me.
Yeah,
this is why you don't order PowerPoint presentations off of Fiverr. Okay, so we have Team Plasma. They're just Knights Templar cosplayers. Oh, that's weird. Why do you want to be like the people who did the Crusades? And I get it. I'm on a holy crusade of sorts too. But instead of trying to stop Constantinople or get $5,000 to pay the local tax assessor to shut down an orphanage, I simply want to bully Gen 5 enjoyers. And is that such a crime? And their whole thing is that Pokemon shouldn't be used as tools of war. So what do? They use Pokemon as tools of war. It's just hypocritical PETA. And PETA's already really hypocritical. How do you top that? And then, of course, there's their leader, N. Whose plan is to capture the legendary Pokemon so that he can form a strong enough cult of personality around himself so he can just get everyone to listen to him. It's really dumb. And then after you kick his ass, it turns out that the whole plan wasn't Pokemon liberation. It was capitalism. Sorry. You know, because it shows up this guy, he just beats the shit out of N, and then he reveals that he had all his little goons plugged into the US Treasury, and was just going to abolish money from everyone besides himself. I mean, release Pokemon into the wild. I mean, I hate this. Wait, Clayton, I think your phone's going off.
Is it?
Yeah, you should go. You should take that call. Yeah, take a call. Okay, is he listening? Black White 2 is pretty cool. Their plan is to use Kyurem to freeze the Earth. And have you seen global temperature projections lately? I'm into this. And not just because I really like the cold.
All right, bye.
And that's why it's just Gen 3 called and they want their plot back.
That's right. They're just reusing the same garbage plots from previous generations.
Exactly.
You know?
God.
Snitches get stitches. And then we have Team Skull. It took a few generations, but they fixed it. I mean, sure, they like Fago, and their taste in music is kind of bad. But somehow their politics are fine.
Also, you know, they're not a doomsday cult. They have understandable motivations. It's pretty cool.
They just want to have face tattoos.
Right?
Also, they're just going around stealing bus stops from the island. Like, I don't know, maybe that's a bad thing, or maybe they're a group of rogue urban planners trying to improve the region's transit system. They're villains. They're heroes. And then Gen 8 comes around and is like, yeah, let's do that again. Let's do Team Yell. And this is just Diet Team Skull, but instead of trying to fix the region's transit system, they're just a bunch of gooners for some idol. And I mean, it's still better than a doomsday cult, but it's one of the many reasons Gen 8 sucks. And actually, wait, I think we should do a new panel.
Yeah, we can squeeze a panel.
Yeah, okay.
Panel. Yeah.
Why Gen 8 sucks, or fuck it, let's give a popular opinion for once in our goddamn lives. Boo! Point 1, the wild area is lame. You can explore the whole thing in like 15 minutes. It feels more like some random Lego pieces put together than a coherent world. Mm-hmm. Like Nintendo's like, hey, we did an open world. And it's like, you know what an open world looks like. You did Breath of the Wild a year before, and Arceus is coming out like a year after. You can get this right. The world design's kind of bad too. Like, this has so many cul-de-sacs and lollipops, it looks like a subdevelopment in like Las Vegas. I thought Gen 5's map was garbage, but somehow Gen 8 came around and went, hold my beer. Point 3, it has a fire fucking fighting starter. Don't believe me? It has feet. What do you use feet for? Kicking. Kicking is fighting. Mega kick, fighting move. Don't trust me? Use it on a ghost type. Doesn't affect ghosts. Why? Because it's fighting. It's not all bad though. They gave us Yamper.
Yamper almost makes sense.
Almost makes Gen 8 Pokemon, but not quite.
Yeah, not quite.
Okay, let's talk about badges.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Gary's Etsy collection. We have the weighted companion cube badge for defeating GLaDOS, the quill badge for beating John Hancock in a signature contest, and the Liberty Bell badge for eating 3 Crunchwrap Supremes from Taco Bell and not breaking the toilet afterwards.
I believe he also has the badge for eating a 4th Crunchwrap Supreme and successfully breaking the toilet bowl.
Good combo. I wonder where he got these.
Well, he definitely didn't get them from actually beating gym leaders, because this is what the actual Gen 1 badges look like, and I know this because they are iconic, immediately recognizable, and most importantly, they have a simple aesthetic design that matches up one-to-one with the type of Pokemon the gym leader you fought to earn them uses. The Boulder badge is a boulder. The Water badge is a water. And the Earth badge is a grass. No confusion whatsoever. It is completely clear.
This is in steep contrast with the Gen 5 badges. Here we have the dog to let you use recover outside of battle, the ox which lets you use strength, and the cock for vitality. Wait.
Max. I think I messed up. These might be the talismans from Jackie Chan Adventures. I had a feeling when I was putting the slide together that they were way too based to be the Gen 5 badges, but
Yeah. Did you get the next slide right?
maybe.
Did he get the next slide right?
I think so. You've got the Millennium Pyramid for grain storage, you've got the Millennium Ankh for Ankh storage, and you've got the Millennium Falcon for making the Kessel Run in under 5 parsecs.
That's Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh. I don't think we have too many more of these slides, though.
You mean you could only goof it up so many times?
I should note that out of all of these badges, only the third has any value whatsoever.
I can test that. Okay. Okay. The next
Everyone
one-
knows it's a stupid meme. It's already priced in.
Okay. Okay. Is the next one right?
I think so.
Earth,
Fire,
water, wind,
water,
heart. With our powers combined, we are
Embor! But those still aren't the Gen 5 badges, and honestly, I don't even know if they're in the panel. Like, yeah, I don't think these are them either. These are the dumbest looking ones
This is
so
my
far.
dad's used toothpick collection.
Yeah, I think we messed up. Well, we'll just move on and not without talking about Gen 5 badges.
No, I guess we should talk about something more serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's be clear here. Pokemon has always kind of had an issue with this. They will argue that in Gen 1, Jinx was based off of a fashion trend. But they did still have to recolor Jinx. So I don't think that holds water, especially when you look at how Japan just kind of draws black people. Because their knowledge seems to be from 1930s American minstrel shows. And you can't get much more racist than 1930s American minstrel shows.
I don't know, 1930s German government policy is up there.
In the current federal government. Gen 3 did do a hold my beer moment and give us Ludicolo. A lot of people will be like, it's just a happy Kappa guy doing a dance. And it can be that, and it can be bad. He has a poncho on. He has a sombrero. He has maracas a lot of the time. And his name is Ludicolo, which, you know, that feels very, like, Spanish. He evolves from Lombre. And his starting attack is not Scratch or Pound or Tackle, it is Astonish. He is one of only 3 Pokemon in his introductory generation to learn Thief by level up. That's the one that got you. You guys are like, I don't know, he's reading to it. Portrayed primarily working at a tequila bar and has attacks like Mug. And then we got Gen 5. This is Lenora. I know, not too bad. This is the American art for Lenora. This is international. That's some that's some Pearl Milling Company shit. And then we have Lilligant. She's got the big hoop skirt, the nice floral hat, very like antebellum South woman coded. This is the white version exclusive Pokemon. Would you care to guess what the black version exclusive Pokemon is?
I wish we were making this up.
Now this is the part where some of you are going to make arguments against me, and I'm just going to supersede those right now. It evolves into Whimsicott. Whimsicott is a small black man. Do not argue with me that this is a cotton step. Again, it can be both, and that is not good. Also, its move is Prankster. Next, you'll be like, well, it's Japan. They don't really understand American culture. Gen 5 takes place in New York City. This is an American culture game. So you know what? I rescind my stereotype of Gen 5 stories. You don't look like this. You look like this. And Masahiro Sakurai, he knows that. Have you wondered why in the Smash roster we have no Gen 5 representation? Therefore, Black-White is not Pokemon Checkmate Atheists. But there's some consequences to this in the real world. Here's a map of U.S. pedestrian deaths over the last 30 years. Here's when Black White came out. That's real. Subway
The numbers don't lie.
Subway had to cancel the $5 footlong deal because they knew. Subway knows you can't keep working with monsters. That's why they fired Jared. Yeah. Blame Gen 5 for your sandwiches costing more money. It's not inflation. Next, if you've seen Top Gun Maverick, sure, war crimes, American propaganda, but what's the country they're bombing? What planes do they use? They use 5th gen fighters. How do we have Tom Cruise on our side? It's kind of upsetting.
I mean, I'll take all the help we can get, especially since in the next generations, they did eventually release some interesting new Pokemon forms. Unfortunately, instead of giving us cool regional variants of Generation 2 Pokemon, like Alolan Typhlosion, Negafurit, and Millennial Xatu, they gave us crap like this. They gave us the stupid moth again. Namely, they introduced Gen 5 abominations again into the game. Now, some of you may be wondering, what's the big deal about that? It's not a Pokemon the first time, it's not a Pokemon the second time, they're just adding not Pokemon, right? The problem is, there are mathematical consequences here. Because if we look at the generations, Generation 1 has 151 Pokemon. Generation 5 has 155 creatures, but they're not real Pokemon, so we count them using the imaginary unit I. If you remember how imaginary numbers work, raising I to the power of 0 is 1, raising it to the power of 1 is I, and raising it to the power of 2 is -1. That is to say, by introducing multiple copies of the same non-imaginary Pokemon into the game, you have literally created negative Pokemon. Say goodbye to Klefki. We just have more of the stupid moth now.
I'm conflicted if I want more of the stupid moth or Klefki, if I'm going to be honest.
No, I mean, if you're going to add 2 copies of something, at least give us more Charizard for it or something.
Yeah, oops, all Charizard edition.
Absolutely.
Pokemon Fire Red. Anyway.
Give us a firefighting Charizard.
I think we've demonstrated we know our shit, so we've got some demands for Nintendo, and I think if they listen to us for what we have to say about Gen 10, it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, first of all, do not remake Generation 5. They've already caused enough damage by creating it once in the first place. And honestly, Black and White were the lowest selling of the mainline Pokemon games anyway, so they have less financial incentive to do it anyway. So, let's just not do it. Let's, Nintendo should stay on the course they charted out, which is, remaking Generation 6 instead, just, jumping straight to there, right? And the problem, though, is based on the information they told us so far, they've only listened to us 2/3 of the way, because even though they did the cool thing by letting us do the Generation 2 starters the second time we returned to Generation 6, they still gave us M-More. And I don't know. Let's
yeah, come on, fix it up. Demand 2. We have Jackie Chan. We have Bruce Lee. We have a Beyblade. If they could just give us the 4th legendary Japanese martial artist. That's right. All you can eat lobster at Red Lobster. Give us Shrimp Stone Bora.
It's important. Demand 3, give us back those janky mechanics from Generation 1. Namely, speed-based crits. In Generation 1, your critical hit rate scaled with your speed stat. This actually gave you kind of an interesting reason to pump your speed stat to get that as high as possible, as opposed to the current, metagame, which is you add exactly 7 IVs or EVs into speed, because that gets you just the right number to outspeed the entire 85 speed tier or some other metagame mumbo jumbo like that, as opposed to, giving people a reason to do wacky, weird stuff and, kind of shake up the metagame a little bit.
Make the game more chancy.
Also, bring back the Gen 1 miss. In Generation 1, even attacks like Swift with perfect accuracy had a 1 in 256 chance of missing. And, you know, this is realistic. Sometimes life sucks and you don't get what you want, and Pokemon should reflect that. Demand 4, let us play dress up again. In previous generations, we were able to, you know, customize the outfit our trainers wore so we could truly make them our own, as opposed to Generation 9, which just had the 4 seasons. I'm sorry, these 4 seasons, as in literally the 4 different types of school uniform you were allowed to choose from. Because even though you could buy sandwich ingredients everywhere, you couldn't buy a fucking shirt at one goddamn store. I was not allowed to be the Team Rocket grunt of my dreams, and I am still heartbroken over it.
Actually, building off that, Demand 5, let us play as Team Rocket. You know that guy at the end of Nugget Bridge who's like, would you like to join Team Rocket? Yeah, I would. Woo! Jesse and James seem super cool, and I would love to hang out with them and do property crime to keep Kanto affordable. Demand 6, give us more uses of explosion. Like, all we've gotten is Misty Explosion, which, you know, is cool and all, but they could do so much better. We could get, like, a poison-type explosion, like Overdose. Ice-type could have Shatter. Fire-type could just get Explosion. And Electric-type could get Pacific Gas and Electric. R.I.P. my dad's house. Demand 7, now, we really wanted them to keep those feet taped to the ground. And not only did they not do that, they made the Pokemon hop. And circling back to whoever really wished that Muck had pigtails, I don't want Nintendo dictating which Pokemon are fuckable and which aren't. I want the fan community doing that. Stop telling us what our preferences are, Nintendo. Just give me a starter that's ugly, and if I want to like do some fan art, let me glow it up.
Be careful what you wish for, man. With Demand 8, please let us adopt this adorable Charmander we saw at the website for the Sacramento town. Look at him, he's so cute.
And to inform you all, this image is a year old. I don't know if that dog got adopted.
It's possible they let him outside in the rain and, the fire went out.
Demand 9, Nintendo, please hire me. I've been paid to give Pokemon opinions before. I'm giving these out for free. Imagine how useful I would be in your company. It'd be great.
And lastly, Demand 10, give us back the Jackie Chan Adventures anime. The greatest piece of art ever created by the human species and the bedrock of our cultural heritage. And, with that, that's the end of the panel.
So, we'd like to thank Smogon for not referring to Emboar as a Pokemon. Olive Garden for having all-you-can-eat soup, salad, and breadsticks for $5.99 when you're here, your family. And John Rogers, Dwayne Capizzi, and Jeff Klein for creating Jackie Chan Adventures, a truly fine Japanese anime. So we are giving all of these panels this weekend in this room. I don't have a life. So you can stick around and we'll talk about Detective Conan and how he's a terrible detective. We've got How Not to Plan an Anime Convention at 6, Pokemon Film Review Hour at 7:30, The Fall of the House of Miyazaki about how Miyazaki is a talentless hack and should be stopped at 9. On Saturday, we have the Super Mario Bros. Super panel about the Super Show, top percentage into the Joeyverse, a panel all about youngster Joey and his wonderful exploits throughout the multiverse. Cthulhu for School Board, in case you're looking for new candidates to vote for. Waluigi time about all the games Waluigi should be in. God, this is such a fucking long list.
We're giving too many panels.
That's impossible. Anime Survivor, which is a scripted, like, I use a simulator and we see how anime characters would be at Survivor. Spoilers, this is going to be fucking bad. D&D and Media, a critical fail about the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon. And Sonic An Unfortunate History, which is what it says on the tin. So, with that,
You should definitely check out our content. It's always a good sign when we advertise it as being, quote, fucking bad. With that,
I think, so remember, you can scan our QR code up there. That'll take you to our various social medias. We also have business cards, if you would like a business card. And if any of you have questions, feel free to approach the mic, because I'm just stuck in here till 3, and my next panel isn't for 30 minutes.
we've got about 5 minutes until the end of the time slot, so if you have any questions for us,
Yeah.
go ahead and shoot.
And if you ask a good question, you'll get a ribbon. And if you ask a bad question, you won't get a ribbon.
I don't have
Yeah,
much
thunderous guy.
It was Landris, by the way.
Landers, I don't give a shit.
I wish it was thunderous.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to defend Seal.
Seal?
I'm gonna need you to defend Seal.
Why do you not? What's wrong with seal?
It's a seal!
Yeah, and
They didn't even like choose the pronunciation.
and Dugong's a Dugong. Is majestic. Is one of the cooler ice water type Pokemon. in Gen
Dugong's
1.
fine. I want a seal. I want a seal.
You can't have Dugong
He
without
has a
seal,
horn on
man.
his
Sometimes
head.
you got to take the warts. You know,
I love Seal.
nobody's perfect.
I'm sorry that you're so anti-Seal.
Do you hate Gyarados because you have to suffer through the Magikarp stage? Like, come
No, I
on,
actually really like Magikarp. That's
right?
cool.
It teaches you the importance of struggle and hard work.
I'll be honest, I think you're the first person to hate Seal.
No, I've seen that opinion before.
But don't say that. Don't validate this man.
Well, opinions can be wrong.
I mean, I'd offer you this ribbon, but I feel like you're gonna burn it.
Wait, let's take a look.
Determine how flammable it is.
Ooh, I don't know how well this would burn.
Yeah, no,
I'll keep it hanging around.
Okay, Peach,
It might just
that
melt.
shit.
I think it's polyester.
Okay, next person.
I would like to hear your thoughts about the post game where they destroy the gym badges and then they have to go around to find all the Pokemon that inherited their powers. But I'm also curious, do you think Gen 5 would have been better if they introduced more evolutions to Gen 1 Pokemon?
No, because then the Gen 1 Pokemon would have been tainted.
So I will, as an aside to that, one thing that I legitimately did like about Generation 5 is that they added the Eviolite item, which allowed me to ignore the uglier Gen 4 evolutions and just put an Eviolite on Rhydon instead. It honestly is great.
So, for what it's worth, I do appreciate that Gen 5 tried to introduce only new monsters for use throughout the game. I just wish they did a good job making that. Because we have 153 really bad ones, then Crustle.
Crocodile's alright, I guess. But
Crocodile is like if Spencer's were a Pokemon.
Oh, that's definitely true. He's trying way too hard to look cool. But, like, Ground Dark is a cool type, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Come on up and grab a ribbon.
Grab a ribbon. It'll help you be a better superhero.
It won't.
Thanks for the panel.
Thank you.
Thanks for attending.
Thank you, Mr. CWF.
Can I get a ribbon? Please.
Since you asked nicely, sure, why not?
I'll give it to you, but I swear if the next person does the same thing, I'm going to take it away from you.
I just thought that was a great question for you. Do you buckle with stuff?
I don't think anybody should fuckle with Shuckle. That attack stat hits like 250 something once you use Power Swap, and yikes.
If you could come up real quick, this is going to take a second. This is good content. I'm going to show on my phone. You're all going to be really excited.
Yeah, he's showing off his,
My Emerald Sea
games.
Glass game.
Wave the black flag. Copyright is something we should trim down.
Yeah.
The Shuckle named Pluckler.
Hashtag repeal the DNCA.
Yes.
So you trash on Garbodor.
Yeah.
He's literal trash.
Muck is literally trashed out of the bag.
I don't get why you didn't understand his defensive knock. That seems to be a media literacy problem.
Sludge monsters are an extremely common variety of monster in media and a perfect representation of the poison type.
Garbodor is a sludge monster.
Garbodor is a pile of loose garbage.
A ripped garbage bag.
It has to do with the flowing fluidity of muck is kind of hypnotic.
That's gross.
Or depends on we're getting
You're gross.
what happens with that sludge.
Oh, I see.
Mix all that together, it does become like.
We're gonna be a fat bird. Yeah, that's Muck's new evolution is a fat bird.
I'm here for it, you know?
You're gonna pour some grease down the drain.
No, I support that.
Get it going.
I guess you can have a badge.
Yeah, you can have a badge.
Yeah, this sucks. Mostly because I have so many. Yeah.
And specifically in the villains area,
Yeah.
skipped over Team Flare.
Yeah, that's because I didn't want to do every team.
I mean, I would skip over Gen 6 entirely.
My honest take on Gen Flare is I was initially excited because it looked like they were basically Team Rocket with a fabulous sense of fashion. But then they were talking about like building some laser cannon, and it's like, oh god, is this another Doomsday cult?
Yeah, Team Flare was just a bait and switch, and honestly, to just spend more time on a Doomsday Cult team isn't really worth it.
It's just a copy of Cyrus.
Yeah, it's not interesting.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it.
Their fashion sense is fabulous.
We used
so
to
I
talk
love the
about
Reds.
yes. We used to talk about all the villainous teams. Not worth the time. More fun to spend more time on 5 and 7 and just ignore 6 entirely.
That's fair.
And reiterate the correct opinion that Gen 8 is also not Pokemon.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You can come up and make a new plan your friend. Yes, Mr. Rocket, sir.
Do you like my kids?
You are not getting a ribbon. You can get the fuck out.
I have a
Lisa-
wait. I have a question for the Team Rocket drop, though. Is the dead drop still in the agreed upon location? We need to pick up the package. Giovanni said it would be there.
Wait, I thought you were a skull. Are you secretly Rocket?
No, but we have some business arrangements with them. The boss knows.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta buy from outside box.
Yeah, exactly. You know?
Did you play Infinite?
Guzman, I'm just surprised you're back from like, your Aether Foundation money.
We also
Are you done getting stepped on?
She's busy this weekend.
we also have to get our purchases in before the tariffs kick in and screw over everybody. So you know. Yes.
You said something about Team Yell, and the way you described it, I got me thinking, isn't that like the entire villain arc of Borderlands 3?
I would have to have played Borderlands 3.
Yeah, I played Borderlands 1 and 2, and yeah. So I don't know.
I'll assume you're right and let you take one of these. I mean, Borderlands seems like a game that would just involve gooning. Yeah. Hi. Okay.
I just joined Team Skull, please.
You want to join Team Skull?
Yeah.
It's very easy. I made all of this shit at home. You can do that. You can have a thing. They're unfortunately not Team Skull badges, though. They just say that Gen 5 isn't Pokemon.
But Gen 5 really isn't Pokemon.
It isn't. Thank you.
It's just not.
Thank you for agreeing. They're also, again, business.
We've got a convert.
Business cards are boring, I guess.
If we had a pen, we could write Team Skull membership card on the back.
Or we could draw it on people's faces.
That would be great. Then I can give you a membership card.
I legit thought I have like nothing left to put on. Yeah, I have to. Here you go.
He's on it. I believe that's the question. So, the next panel is in 25 minutes. If you would like, you can hang out. If you would like to not hang out, you can also do that and then come back in 25 minutes. Or you can never come back. It depends on how you feel about Detective Conan. Dude, that is some true enthusiasm that I'm here for.
How's it going? How's it work? How's it look?
It's good.